Hello, and welcome to My Xbox and Me, episode 398. I am one of your hosts, MC, Mother Trucking Fixer, alongside the one and only Mr. Matt P. Video. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, mate. If you thought last week was going to be a spicy episode, then you should know that mere hours ago, MC Fixer called me out on Twitter, and this week is going to get spicy.
You did, that's true. You don't even know the half of it, though. There's more to that story than you even know.
Let's go.
There's more. And the one and only Toothbrush Crash. Crash, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing good.
Good. So we're recording. I'm obviously not at home, as I'm sure most of you can tell if you're watching the video version. Look, you might hear some barking, you might hear some squeaky chairs. We're making it work. It is what it is. This is the shit show as per usual. And if you come here for a professional podcast once a week, you're in the goddamn wrong place. Let me tell you. But we're here. If you didn't know, My Xbox and Me is our weekly Xbox podcast right here on myxboxandme.com. That is not a thing. I've got to be honest with you. I messed up the intro. That's not a real thing.
You're not in your environment. Anymore. You're not in your environment. It's throwing you off.
What's my rigmarole? This is My Xbox and Me, our weekly Xbox podcast, right here on youtube.com/myxboxandme and all podcast services. If you want the show early, head over to patreon.com/mcfixer and do all the other stuff. Who cares? Blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Shout out Patreon producer this month, Aaron God. Thank you for keeping the lights on and supporting the show consistently throughout this year. We do appreciate you. Topic of the show. I beat some video games.
Unbelievable.
And I want to talk about it. Where would you like to start? Because I beat two this week. I beat a little old game called Hi-Fi Rush, and I beat a little old game called Dead Space.
Start with the one you liked more.
You're a dickhead. Oh, they're so different. They're literally the polar opposites.
You asked me and I gave you my request.
You asked the question with a question, which in my relationship with Haley is something I don't allow.
I didn't answer the question with a question. I gave you a directive. I gave you an answer.
Let's start with
the one you like best.
I'm not saying that's the one I like. I'm not saying
okay,
that's
you like
Hi-Fi
Rush more. Got it.
That's not what
Hi-Fi Rush better be higher on your list than Dead Space. That's what I'm saying.
That's not what I'm saying. I want that to be
perfectly
so clear.
That
is not what I'm saying. I beat Hi-Fi Rush. I think I am comfortable in saying that Hi-Fi Rush, outside of a Dance Resolution, a Guitar Hero Revolution, I know, I'm taking the piss. Guitar Hero, a DJ Hero. I'll even put the singing games in there because they're technically they're rhythm games. Technically,
Sure.
I mean, as long as you hum to the rhythm in the correct way, so that you've got to hum it in the right place. Technically, you can sing. You can go la 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 the whole time. But if you go up when it needs to go up and you go down when it needs to go down, you're in rhythm. Technically.
Okay.
Technically. But apart from those games, I think Hi-Fi Rush might be the best rhythm-based game I've ever played. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And though the story's a bit whatever, towards the end of it, I did actually fall in love with the characters way more than I was expecting to. Which, if you've listened to any of the previous episodes, you know I definitely wasn't planning for the story in those early stages. But there's a part at the end, as they sort of, no spoilers, but as things start to transpire, that really, it got me choked up at one point. And I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. I wasn't expecting that. But you both played it, but neither of you have beat it yet, right?
I haven't beaten it now.
Are you planning on beating it, or?
Oh, man, it's so hard in it at the moment. Like, when am I going to get back to it?
It's not hard at all.
Yeah, I got one more setting. I'll beat it at some point.
What chapter are you on?
I've done like the first... Sorry, go on, Crash.
I'm halfway through it.
Oh, what, 6?
Yeah.
The back end is way shorter than the front end as well. I'll tell you that for nothing.
I think I beat the first major boss.
Oh,
Oh,
you're
you got a lot.
early.
I say a lot to do, but it's still only like 7 hours or something like that. 7
Yeah.
or 6 hours.
Yeah,
It's
about
doable.
an hour game, 100%.
If I find the right time and the
You have to be it. You need to be it before the end of the year,
Ugh.
100%. It's one of those games. It's one of those games. For me, it's such a different game from what we was expecting from Tango, but I can't wait for the sequel, and I can't wait to keep playing these games. It's so good, so good. I just didn't expect to care that much about it. You know, it was one of those games that dropped, and when a game drops out of nowhere, you're never really expecting too much.
Yeah.
But it's probably my game of the year.
So it is better up above Dead Space.
Probably.
That's how it works.
Probably. It is. It's probably my game of the year so far.
Interesting.
If I had to go hand on my heart, yeah. It's just a game that it's so unique. It's got a unique art style, unique combat system. It does different things than I wasn't expecting it to do. And like I say, and towards the end, the story was actually quite fun. So, yeah, man, I'm happy with myself. I beat that, and then obviously, moving on, I beat Dead Space as well. Man, Dead Space is a hell of a game. It is so good. Like, I can't believe I've waited this long to play Dead Space. I'm glad I did, though. In a way, I'm glad I did, especially after coming off the back of like Resident Evil 2 remake and other things. It was never going to live up to those expectations, but I think in some ways it actually does surpass it, which is crazy. In some aspects, I think Dead Space nails its atmosphere more than any Resident Evil game that's ever been out.
Interesting.
If you adjust on this atmosphere of you are in this you are on this spaceship or whatever you want to call it, and what it does in tight spaces, especially with the remake, it's remarkable. And you know that's high praise coming from me, who's like a big Resident Evil fan. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that game from start to finish, every moment of it. And the only thing that lets Dead Space down for me, ultimately, is its story. I think Dead Space story is boring as hell.
Right.
Like, its characters are very one-dimensional. All of the twists and turns that happen are very obvious. Even the big twist at the end, you can see it coming a mile off. And again, I know survival games and like survival and horror films, they're challenging things to do stories anyway without seeing the big twist, right? But ultimately, Dead Space, that wasn't the thing that kept me going. Isaac to me is a boring character. Like, he has nothing going for him. Like,
Well,
yeah.
in the original, if I'm not mistaken, Isaac isn't like a voiced character, right?
No, he's not. He has no voice in the original.
Oh, interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's sort of the story as far as like I could tell. I don't really know. It suffers from when it was made, and that like I feel like video game stories have progressed pretty well from then. So it's like very much stuck in the timepiece where everything else is much more modern in that game.
Yes. But then, and I hate to bring it back to Resident Evil 2 remake, but that was made in that. No, no. I'm not saying. I think it's great and I love it, but it's way better than this. And that game was made in 1996.
I have to finish with Dead Space. I'm not gonna make a comment, but from what I've played, like I think you're crazy with that statement.
Are you nuts?
Resident Evil story is not that impressive.
No. I didn't say it was that impressive. But
you are. You're saying it's better than Dead Space. And I'm not saying Dead Spaces is better. I'm just saying they're both forgettable experiences from what I've played.
I think maybe what it is. I think maybe what it is for me is maybe it's unfair because I'm in love with Leon. I'm in love with Claire. I'm in love with all of these Resident Evil characters. Jill, the list goes on, right? Like of whoever. So I'm already in love with that franchise.
What I will say is that Resident Evil does characters better than Dead Space.
Yeah, that's 100%.
I wouldn't like the overall story. Like, I don't think either of them do incredibly great, but I think Resident Evil gives Leon more of a character than most of the characters you see in Dead Space.
Every single one.
Yeah, you get like a bit of character of like the main, the whoever the guy that's leading you. I forget his name. The guy that you get
Hammond.
separated from earlier. Yeah.
Hammond, I think.
And the all the other people
yeah.
they try and give them character, but that's not really the focus there, right?
No.
They're just there to give you information as you continue the game, right?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I agree with you. Narrative overall, I don't think either of them have like super great stories. But I don't think to me with horror games, I don't think that's like the be all and end all most of the time. Just give me enough to like make what's happening believable or make sense to a degree.
Yeah, I get you. But yeah, like I say, if you are a survival horror fan and you haven't played Dead Space before, I'm sure you have. I was probably one of the few that haven't. But if you haven't, this is the perfect place to jump in and play it. It is a phenomenal experience.
Have you played it yet, Matt?
No, not at all. I've got it sat on. Oh, unfortunately, got it sat on.
Wait. Ah, that's fine. Wait a second. Hold up. Wait a second.
Hold up a minute.
How have you got no time to beat any of these games? What else are you playing? Like, this taking you away from, like, all of these other games?
Redacted, but also when you find out, you're not going to be happy with me.
Oh my god. All right. Sure. I won't push.
Yeah.
Let's transition into what's been in our box then. Chris, what have you been playing?
I played more Destiny.
Of course.
I haven't played much outside of Destiny because the raid is tomorrow, and I've been raid prepping. So,
are you like you've set aside all of tomorrow? You're ready for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
You got the squad.
Have you got a crew to play with?
I got a group to play with.
Man, that must be nice.
Do you trust them though? Is it going to be painful? Do you know that this experience is going to be incredibly painful? But you know the guy in the group who's going to let you down, right? Already, that's already in your head.
Yeah, it's Crash.
Well,
wait, what I was going to say is if you don't have that guy identified, it's you.
Well, look, I'm always disappointed in myself, so that just makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's go with it.
I respect it.
But yeah, no, I'm very much so looking forward to tomorrow. I don't expect to beat the raid. That's never my goal with doing day one raids in Destiny. It's just a very fun experience. But other than that, I have played and started Wild Hearts. Which is very fun. I will say it's probably, and I think people have said this before, but it is probably the only Monster Hunter type game that seems to have an actual, like, similar to like when we talk about Souls games, I'll always mention Neo as sort of like those games sort of live in that genre, but like on its own. I think this game kind of has the potential to do with that. Like playing the game, I think the only big complaint I would have would be performance. And I know they've put out patches and stuff like that, and I haven't played it in I played it like last week or something like that. So I don't know how those performance patches have affected it too hard. But the combat's fun, the weapon types are fun. There's an umbrella type weapon, which is incredibly unique. They do some really, really cool stuff in that game that you don't really see other games do too often, especially in this space. It feels like they're always like, we're chasing the Monster Hunter thing, so we are going to be Monster Hunter and nothing else unique. But it also has the stuff that you love about Monster Hunter, right? You're going to fight a monster, you can still hack off body parts to make it weaker and get specific parts to make armor and stuff like that, which is very cool.
Does it feel more responsive than Monster Hunter? Like, to me, I played Monster Hunter, and especially I played World. It's the only Monster Hunter I've ever played, which was the one that everyone seemed to have played for some reason. And though I enjoyed the games, I never felt like what I was doing, it didn't feel like I was actually using weapons. It didn't feel very responsive. Like you'd aim for a towel, and then the towel would sort of just fall off eventually. Does this have a little bit more? Does it feel a little bit more responsive or not?
Huh? What do you mean responsive in like you pushing a button and the game reacting?
Yeah.
Or do you mean like, because if you're talking about like you hit somebody and it's gonna sort of flinch back?
No. I mean more just Monster Hunter to me everything felt like a tank. Everything.
Okay.
And ultimately it felt like I was just hitting, then something fell off. And then I'm hitting, and then something falls off again. It didn't, to me, it never felt like I am aiming for that body part, and then I did that. You know, like, those games are made co-op as well. Like, you don't have, like, someone could focus one side, you're focusing another. I never felt like I was actually doing anything other than just weakening its health.
I think it's still
It's still
Monster
that.
Hunter in that regard.
Got ya,
Yeah,
okay.
because I don't know how in a game like this you would necessarily even approach something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a much more like that's, for lack of a better term, a much more like intimate thing, I guess. I don't
Do you
know
know
how
what
else
I
to
mean
word
by
that.
that though? When I'm talking about Monster Hunter, do you get what I mean, or not
Yeah, yeah, I
really?
get what you mean. You want just more, I guess, feedback in a sense. I don't know the right
Yeah.
way to word it, but I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. And like that, I don't know if that necessarily works in a game like this.
Okay.
Especially when you're going into co-op. I don't know how you build that around that. Hopefully a game does that at some point, but no, I don't think. I think this game is very similar to Monster Hunter in that regard.
Okay. Interesting. I want to check it out. I think I'm gonna get a code hopefully today, and maybe check it out tomorrow.
My question:
We'll see.
do you need a code? Is it on Game Pass?
It's not on game. I think 10 hours are on Game Pass, but not the full
Okay.
game.
My question: is it any more accessible than Monster Hunter? I jumped into Monster Hunter Rise. It was the first one I jumped into in a very, very, I think since like the PSP days, and I was like, my god, the first 2 hours of this are rough.
Accessible in that sense. There is an intro section in this game. I don't think the intro section is as long.
Okay.
And I haven't gone far enough to like say whether that aspect of the game is any different in this one.
Do you feel like you're drowning in mechanics that you are probably never gonna use again?
No,
Okay.
I will say no. I feel like everything the game teaches you is like it's up to you whether you use some of the stuff, because the way
Sure.
the game works is you can actually like build pieces to like jump higher and get around the map. You don't have to do that. You can take the long way around stuff and there are times where the game's like, oh, if you want to go up there, you have to grapple or something like that. But the game doesn't force you to. So if you don't want to use that, you don't have to. But a lot of this stuff, a lot of them are quality of life effects for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can gather resources and build campsites in places, but you can choose what you want to build there. And they all require a certain amount of resource that's tied throughout your character, right? So it's not tied to individual campsites. So if you want to build somewhere to rest, like you have one resource that's shared through all the campsites that you want to do that to.
Okay.
Cool.
So that's like an interesting resource management, and that sort of those mechanics I think some players can like really overlook, but those are more quality of life changes than something
Yeah.
that you need to do necessarily, right?
Okay. Maybe I'll check it out. Because yeah, Monster Hunter Rise, everybody was talking about it when it came to the Game Pass, and I was like, you know what? I'll jump into a Monster Hunter game. I haven't tried this in a long time, and I was like, no. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this feel more Western? Obviously, like, does it have that Western feel to it in terms of like, especially co-op and stuff like that? Even joining a game on Monster Hunter, like I'm talking about World. I don't know what happened with Rise, but World, even that was a ball ache. Like, you go to the board
Yeah.
and like, is this way more accessible in terms of like just inviting people or?
They have invite points spread throughout the map that you just go to, and I don't know how they fully work because I didn't really mess around with it too much. I do know if you're hunting something and you want to invite people, it's just like the press of a button, and people
Gotcha.
searching for matches will just automatically join you. As far as inviting individual people, I don't know really how that works.
Okay.
fair enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Anything else you've been playing?
Nope, that's about it.
Okay. Okay. Matt, what have you been playing?
He's been playing Redacted, he told us.
Redacted, and the only other thing I've been playing is still chipping away at Hogwarts, and very much enjoying it. And yeah, man, just makes me want to play like Harry Potter D&D, but not Harry Potter and stuff, you know.
I'd love to do some Harry Potter D&D. Would love that. Why are you looking at me like that? I'd love to do it.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Coming from a guy who just said he hasn't got time to beat Hi-Fi Rush or Dead Space, but man wants to do an 8-hour Harry Potter campaign of D&D.
And make it happen.
Matt would make the time for that.
Just to stick on to Harry Potter for a second, I was talking to Chris earlier, and I said I've ruined my experience with that game in such a bad way. So I've been playing it on PC, right? But the problem is I've been switching between controller and PC, controller PC, and then I took a big gap to beat Hi-Fi Rush and Dead Space, which I had to do. Now I loaded it up. Obviously, I'm where I'm at right now. I haven't got a good internet speed, so I can't stream. I can't even really roleplay, to be honest with you. So all I have is time to play games. Like it's very nice, but very overwhelming as well. I'll be honest. and I've loaded up Hogwarts, and I'm like, I don't know how to play this game anymore because I'm playing it on a controller, and I'm like, I can't figure out how to do loadouts for my different spells. I
yeah.
can't figure this out. I can't. Riding the broom is like, I'm all over the place. I'm like, I need to just start this game from the start again. And then I'm not going to.
No.
There's no way. There's no way I'm going to. But it's either I've got to wait until I get home and just play at mouse and keyboard and just power through, or I need to sit down for like 2-3 hours and figure out the controls again on a controller, which is a nightmare as well. So, yeah, overwhelmed.
Partly segue, partly helpful information, hopefully. It's not a dissimilar control scheme to Wulong, which you've been playing. I'm assuming on controller?
Yes, obviously. So yeah, I started Wulong, especially after hearing Matt's impressions last week, and I wanted to know if Matt was exaggerating. Ultimately, I didn't think I'd ever be able to beat this game. I didn't think it would be a game for me. I just wanted to beat the boss in less than 4 hours.
Good luck.
Ultimately, that was my job. I was like, okay, so here's my Wulong experience. So number one, I want to say the game's fantastic. I think the gameplay is very good. Really, really, really enjoy the gameplay. Quite a beautiful graphically game as well. Again, I'm playing on PC with a 3080 Ti, so take that with whatever you want. First of all, they don't automatically switch the controller input when you play on a PC. So I'm playing with an Xbox controller and I've got all PlayStation prompts. So I'm like, they've messed up. Went into my Xbox and me Discord, which you can join as well. And Joanne must have Google searched it for me. She's like, oh, you just need to change it. You need to go into control and just change it. And then boom, it'll be, I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably should have known that. I probably should have thought of that, to be honest, but I didn't. So that was the start. I was already a bit like, stupid game, how dare you? And then I start the game and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm fighting these enemies. I'm not dying, the first lot of enemies. And I'm like, I like this, and I like the gameplay as well, which is the important part. It's so much faster than a Demon Souls or a Dark Souls.
Way faster.
Obviously, it's a Ninja Theory game, so that makes perfect sense. But I prefer those. I've realized that's why I enjoyed Sekiro.
Yeah,
I prefer the faster, a faster paced game like this. So yeah, I'm running through and I'm putting down my my flags at these different points, and I'm like, bro, I'm progressing through this with ease. What the hell is Matt talking about? He's an idiot. So I come up against this tiger-looking thing, and I'm like, what? This is the boss that Matt was talking about. This thing, because you go in and I think it's your morale. That monster's morale was like 15 and mine was like 10 at the time. So I was like, oh crap. Like, this is what Matt struggled with? No way. Like, so he kills me straight away, first time. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't go back and fight him. I'm like, all right, well, I know these games enough now that clearly I'm not supposed to be there yet. Or I'm meant to approach this very different from how I'm used to being approaching this. See, I've learned how to play these games now.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I go through, I go and kill some other enemies. I get my morale all the way up to 25 after just grinding. I'm literally just running the same loop and killing the same enemies over and over and over, upgrading my character every little bit by bit by bit by bit. Go back to the same tiger, destroy it.
Love that for you.
I unlock the wizardry for the thunder. I literally cheese it. There's like stairs, and he does this animation to jump up the stairs. So all I do is throw lightning. He jumps up the stairs, I jump down the stairs. Lightning. He jumps up the stairs, I jump back up. Like, literally. So I cheese him, he's dead. Boom. Get all this new gear. I'm like, oh my God, I've done it. And I thought, that seemed a little bit too easy. There's no way that was the boss that Matt was talking about. There's no way. So cool, no problem. I go through. I get to the boss that Matt is talking about.
That tiger that Fix is talking about doesn't even have a boss health bar. Just normal. Just like...
I'm pretty sure you fight the tiger in the demo as well. The one that Fix is talking about.
No cutscene.
The same type of enemy.
It's actually a different tiger in a different area, but same enemy. Same enemy.
Got it. Okay.
Let me tell my story.
Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, so I get there. I get to where Matt is talking about the big cutscene. This big dude. I fight him. I'm doing my thing. Deflect. Bow, 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 bow. I'm deflecting this guy left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Smacking him up. He does me over. He kills me.
Of course.
I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. Like, you know, it takes you about 3 times to learn this. I know these games now. I played Elden Ring. 5th on my all-time list. Right?
All time,
I know
man.
these games.
Not just last year. All time.
Wow. All time. I know these games better than anybody. Better than anybody.
Wow.
All right?
Yeah.
So I go and do my loop. You know, I do my little loop. I go and beat up some more bad guys, get my morale up again, you know, because you lose morale each time you die. Go back in there. He beats me up again. I'm like, okay, no problem. I know where I've gone wrong here. I'm not deflecting enough. I'm playing a little bit too passively because you can deflect on. So there's like you got your normal attacks that the bosses do or enemies do, and you can deflect them. But then they've got like this aggression attack, I guess. I don't know what they call it in the game. But you can actually deflect that as well. You just need to time it correctly.
Yeah, and you
so
can't
I was like,
block
I'm
it.
being
So,
no, you can't block it. You have to deflect him, and it does a lot of damage when you do that as well.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I'm like, okay, I'm being a bit too scared to go to him. I need to go to him and take the fight to him 100%. Third time, guys, I smack this guy up. He's done for.
Really?
Bam, 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 bam. Beat him. Bum, 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 bum. I grab my phone to look at the laptop, take a selfie. Let me see if I got the photo. I tweet it.
It makes me
Here
so
it is.
happy.
Can you see this? Can you see that?
Oh my
I
god.
tweet it. Matt P.
Did you?
Mid cutscene.
Did I miss that?
Tweet it at Matt P. I then look at my laptop. The second phase of the boss has started. I quickly delete the tweet and start fighting. It kills me. Destroys me. Absolutely destroys me. I then proceed to try and beat this boss for the next 2 hours and can't do it. I turn off the game.
I am so vindicated. I am so
That is
gutted.
my Wulong experience.
I'm so gutted I never saw that tweet. That's upsetting me.
Fun fact, Team Ninja absolutely loves second phases for their bosses. Big fans.
I think I struggled with the first phase. It sounds like more than you did. Like I definitely took more than 3 tries to get through it. But I was
but I had the information that you gave me of deflect.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Fair. But yeah, like when that second phase hit, and then I was like, well, I've got no heals left. Like, what the fuck? And then I got to a point eventually where I was getting through the first phase without needing any heals. And I'm like, here we go. And then still nothing. And yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
So I'm in this weird point right now because I really like Wulong. I think the gameplay's really fun. I think it's really enjoyable. But I don't enjoy dying in games.
Well,
period. As I've got older, I've learned this. Like even Hi-Fi Rush, right? Hi-Fi Rush I played on easy. Dead Space I played on normal, but Hi-Fi Rush I played on easy. I was just like, I want to play games for the enjoyment of the video game now.
Yeah.
I don't care about I don't do achievement hunting anymore, so I'm not going for achievements anymore. I just want these experiences. And I'm at Wulong now, and I'm like, okay, I've got the next 3 days to play video games. That's all I've got to do is play video games. And I'm like, what do I do with this game now? Because I want to beat this boss just to prove to Matt that I can beat it.
And I believe in you. I think you can beat it. I don't think I've ever
But
said
I don't want to be
you can.
pissed off for a whole day.
Well, that's inevitable. I think, so what you need to do with that, and I think it does the game a disservice, because once you get past it, you won't like skim through the rest of the game, but it'll be like you and the tiger. That's what it'll be. It'll be like, oh, there's this dude, a couple of tries, I can beat this dude. And that'll be like every other boss. Not every other boss. There's a couple of other bosses in the game that are similarly fucked up and hard. But what that is trying to do is it's trying to teach you to deflect those red attacks. And so when you get to that second phase, there is an attack that you can bait out where he does this like big dragon arm out in front of him. And if you hit that 3 or 4 times, he's done. And that's what you need to do. And so that second phase is about staying alive until those attacks come. It's not about trying to jump in and do damage. And so that would be my little tip for you.
How many heals do you have at this point? You got 3, right?
Yeah. In fact, I don't even know if
and
I
then
have
you
any
got
more at this point. Having played,
You got the wizardry. The wizardry.
So the one
So
I was
you get heals when you hit.
Yes. And so that's also very good. Like if you when that red attack comes in, maybe this is an offline conversation, but whatever. When that red attack comes in, if you deflect it right, it will stun him for long enough before you do your killing blow that you could even activate that healing spell, then hit the killing blow and get even more of a boost in health if you need it. But yeah, what I found is that me trying to pull off magic during the fight was actually just a hindrance.
Yeah,
And like,
that's what I learned.
Yeah.
Chris, you're going to love this game, by the way.
Yeah, you got to get on, Crash.
We'll see.
After Destiny Raid.
We'll see.
You don't think you will?
After the first boss, yeah, but I don't like having to parry in games.
Oh, you're
It's not
fucked
something
then.
I'm
You're going to hate
super. Yeah, I'm not something. It's the reason I never finished Sekiro.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
feel
like that pull to like finish something like that just isn't super there for me.
I feel it.
It feels good though. I'll be honest. It's not like it's not bad, and it feels so cool when you do it. When you parry something and you hear the ching, and it's like you do the little backflip as well. It's like, yeah, it looks so cool.
Yeah, the game's like very flashy, and everything you do in that game feels satisfying. I don't know how much it's changed from the demo, but I'm sure that I will like it past that point. But the more I hear people talk about this first boss, it's like I don't know if I even want to fight that first boss. I'll play it at some point. I definitely will play it.
Yeah,
I saw like
it just seems so unfair.
Yeah.
Like for a first boss, it seems so unfair because ultimately, to me, it just I don't know. I understand what they're doing, like in terms of like teaching you to parry, but I understand how to parry from playing it the first time. Like that first bit of parrying, I've learned how to parry. Cool. Why do I have to do it again? I've got to put my laptop on. I've got to put my charger in real quick.
Oh no.
But
yeah,
it's just annoying. It's just annoying.
I get it. And like I say, I do think it does the game a disservice, unfortunately. But like I was worried that I was being that guy. Like I was playing it before release, and I was like, people wrote articles about journalists not knowing how to play fucking Cuphead. I'm that guy. Like I can't double jump. Like I can't get past the tutorial boss. What the fuck is going on? But then after like the review embargo hit, like websites were doing full articles about like how do you beat this fucker, like what is it, and I do feel like it does the game a disservice because like beyond that I couldn't believe how quickly I was getting through the rest of the game. I thought like, oh, this is it, like I have to learn to parry this way, I have to learn to play this game this way, but it's just not the case. And so I do feel like it does it a bit of a disservice, unfortunately, and a lot of people will not get past it, and a lot of people will drop this game, and I think Fix might be one of them. But yeah, that's a shame. That's a bit upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I am looking forward to playing the game, but it's just that idea is just so dreadful. Like it was my least favorite thing about Sekiro.
Yeah, and what I will say is like what I said to Fix is right? Like these like I can't remember what they call them either, but these unblockable red attacks, literally hit 3 or 4 of them right with the timing, and that is it. That is the end of that boss. And so it's not like Sekiro where that boss that was trying to teach you that in Sekiro was like, hey, lock yourself in for a 15-minute long fight and you better hit every fucking parry going. Whereas this is like, actually no. Like if you get hit by this boss, he's going to take off half your health. So you better make sure you've got room to heal or whatever it is. But it's slightly more forgiving in the sense that it is like, hey, it's 4 big wind-up attacks that you have to deflect right now, and that's what I need from you. So it's slightly more forgiving in that sense.
Okay.
You got to at least do the first boss, Crash, and just tell us if you beat it within 3 hours.
Question.
I got you.
Yeah, you just got to time yourself, see if you do it better than me and Fix. Can Wulong end up on Fix's Game of the Year list if he doesn't beat the tutorial boss?
It can't be on my if I don't. But I'm back to now. I'm beating games again. The rules are back.
No, you can't.
The rules are back.
The rules are back.
No, you can't change the rules.
Don't say that out loud.
Crash.
You can't change the rules.
I own this motherfucking podcast. All right,
I
do what I want.
I refuse to allow it.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. As I get older, I realize I'm not going to beat as many games as I used to.
I got these first couple of months in me, and then after that, it's back to the old.
To be fair, I was looking at the rest of the year, and I was like, I think I can keep up. Nah, to be honest.
In what world?
It took you a weekend being away from your computer setup and being able to play GTA RP.
No,
Did you leave
that's
today?
bullshit. No. Yeah, yesterday night. But I beat
Yesterday when you
I beat
started
these on
beating
stream.
games.
No, I beat them
Okay.
before. I beat both of those
Okay.
games before coming here.
Okay.
No.
I take back what I said.
Yeah, I was gonna say, fuck you. That's not true.
But looking at the year
why?
ahead, there's no way. There's no way you beat Redfall. There's no way you beat Starfield.
Yep.
Maybe you beat Redfall. There's no way you beat Starfield.
I beat both of those games.
You
easy.
don't beat Starfield.
Fix will beat Starfield.
Absolutely.
There's a difference
Absolutely.
between the way you and I would play Starfield and the way Fix will play Starfield, Matt. Fix will finish the story, and that's finishing Starfield for Fix.
Yes.
I agree.
You will experience more than Starfield at Fix.
Okay. Well,
I won't get lost in building a fucking ship. My Wulong character was literally me randomizing 4 times
That's fair.
until I got a black guy. I was like, perfect.
Has a really detailed character creator, to be fair.
I wouldn't know. Didn't look.
It's pretty good.
Black hole with me. Didn't look. What was I gonna say? I don't know.
Well,
Beating
my
games
point
this
is,
year.
Fix. I think you can do it. I think you can beat the tutorial boss.
But do I want to? This is the problem. Every minute that I spend in Wulong now is a minute away from Atomic Heart or Hogwarts Legacy or Wild Hearts or Wild Hearts or I think that's it. I think that's all that I've got to play while I'm here, to be honest.
Just reminding me, I started Atomic Heart. That's a game I've played that I could talk about. That's been in my box, as they say.
Perfect. How is it?
I played it the way I'm sure the devs intended. On my phone in the cloud. Obviously.
Oh, with the touchscreen. How's the touchscreen control, Matt?
Can we
Actually,
even,
it's
can we
that
even
weekly
trust your
update.
opinion
I put
anymore?
on the key
Your
sheet.
opinion doesn't even matter.
Put on the
at
key
this
sheet.
point.
Well, what it was that last week when Crash talked about playing, it was the week before. I think you said the only good thing that you found in the game was that it was visually pretty, and I thought, well, let's take that away from this game. And so, yeah, started in the cloud. Didn't play very much, to be honest with you, but I am not loving it in the way I thought. I thought, like, the world seems interesting, I guess. Like, it's doing some interesting things, I think. But it also, like, that intro section is, like, so dull.
Yep.
Apart from it being visually interesting, like, why you make me walk to this building to ride in a really long elevator to pick up a thing to then ride the elevator straight back down and walk straight out the same way. Walk straight out the same way I came, and then jump in a car, which is another just big elevator. Like, what the fuck are we doing? It's so dull. Yeah, it's a rough start to that game. But you know what? It ran fine in the cloud, so whatever.
Ran fine in the cloud. You might be asking yourself, Theo, Fixer, why have you got up? Because that chair is squeaking like a motherfucker and it really hurts my back. So I'm standing for the rest of this podcast.
That's fair. Join me in the stand-up round.
I don't love it. I've got to be honest, I've got a terrible angle. You know, you should never want a camera to be pointing bottom up to your throat to hear.
It's not a great angle.
It is,
also,
it is what it is.
Sort of diving into the and me aspect of the podcast here. What is that, a balloon behind you? What's going on there?
So I'm looking after my aunt's house, or Haley's aunt, our aunt, who we used to live with. If people, long-time viewers will remember the annex I used to live in. We're looking after her house, looking after the dogs. And they have surprised all the kids because they're all gone to Disneyland.
Oh,
so
cute.
That was one of the Disneyland balloons.
Yeah. Nice. Lovely.
Yeah.
There it is.
All right, should we get into some news?
Sure, let's do it.
That's why I had to stand up as well.
You want me to do it because you're on your laptop?
No, I've got it. Yeah. First up in this week's dashboard, Starfield has been delayed, but now has an official release date on Xbox and PC. Starfield is the next big role-playing game being developed by Bethesda Game Studios. The game was originally slated to launch on November 22nd before being pushed for additional polish. Starfield now has a release date of September 6th, 2023. Starfield is the first game Bethesda Game Studios has developed as an Xbox first-party studio, which is a little bit of bullshit if we're being totally honest, because that game was in development a long time before Xbox bought them. But here we stand. Howard also shared that Starfield will get a dedicated developer direct showcase in June. This year. I don't know why. Of course it was this year. Which will follow Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase on June 11th. So there you have it, boys. We were just talking about Starfield release date, weren't we? On last week's episode.
We were basically saying, like, do we think we really get another E3 where we see Starfield? And the answer is yes. Look at that. Although at
Is
least
it yes?
well, that's what I was going to say. At least they are divorcing it slightly from the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, which I think is a good move. It's a promising move.
I agree. I would argue that we're not. Well, I think we're still gonna get that E3 anyway. We'll get a trailer of some sort at E3 to say like catch more after the show at.
For sure.
Whatever
there'll be a tease
watch
or
it.
something, or a Todd Howard going, "Hey, remember that we're doing a thing." Is it the day after? No.
It's probably. I would assume that it'll be June 11th, the Xbox show as well. And
You think it'll be the
Starfield
same
will
day, or
later
just be
that day.
after?
Either that, or it'll be the 10th, because the 11th is. Do you know what date of the week the 11th is?
I do not.
Nope.
We have the
Well,
technology
whatever.
to be able to figure it out.
It'll be
It's
around
called a
then.
calendar.
We have the technology. I think they invented it a really long time ago. Something to do with the sun. Go around the earth.
June 11th is a Sunday. So yeah,
Ew.
I would assume that it's Saturday. It's either Friday to Sunday, the Xbox
Why
showcase
do
that week.
Sunday showcases? I want to watch
More
the
people
showcase.
are home. More people can watch
More
it.
people at home. Yeah, more people at home. The time zone they usually do is actually pretty good for the UK usually. It's usually 10 o'clock. So it's like midday in the US. So it hits everybody, to be honest.
Usually, like, because I know when they used to have E3 during the week.
Bethesda's were awful.
Yeah, well, it was either super late for you guys, or it would even be latest for us, or it'd be so early for us that people would be at work in America. So it's like, I think this is the best of both worlds, where they're like, okay, people can be up and about, and then they can also catch it. So
Sure.
we'll see. We'll see what time it ends up getting. It might still end up getting a horrible time slot.
Nah,
for you
I think
guys.
it'll be 10. I think it'll be 10. 10's fine. Anything beyond 10 o'clock is when I start getting ready. To be honest with you.
The Starfield Direct will probably be, if it's going to go straight after or sometime after, then that'll be shitty timing for us probably. But hey, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, bad boys. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Really couldn't help it.
You guys,
sorry, go on.
you guys surprised Xbox is at E3,
Well, I mean, they're not.
but they are at E3.
But
They're
they're
not
not.
at E3. But you know what I mean. You guys surprised Xbox is doing it this year?
No.
Yeah, no, well, no, I'm not surprised. Of course, it was always going to do something.
Yeah.
I'm
Why
not
are you?
serious. No,
I was gonna say,
absolutely
yeah.
not. It would make,
Yeah,
even
no.
if E3 didn't exist, I think Xbox would still do something that time of year.
Absolutely.
very similar.
It's too ingrained in us now to expect something that time of year. They're not going to take away. They're not going to lose that expectation ever. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know they got the eyeballs on it, and so utilize it, right? People are ready, people are excited, people are hyped.
Are you excited? Are you happy that we got a release date finally?
I mean, we've had many release dates. Is this one any more
This is
special
the
than the
one.
rest?
Yeah, this one's the one.
We've gotten one release date. I don't know why you're saying many release dates, Matt.
Okay, we've had one release date and then many leaks, rumors, potential.
Okay, leaks and rumors
You can't
don't
blame
count.
them on that. You can't blame.
I mean, Crash told me last week it was going to come in June, so
That wasn't a leak or a rumor. It
was-
was a
no,
gut
that was
feeling.
that was just a
You're
release
on
date.
My gut
Xbox
was wrong. I
podcast,
ate something
yeah?
bad last week. You shouldn't have listened to a word I
Oh,
said.
shit.
My gut was all wrong.
That was all wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
Do you believe
Yeah.
it?
I think
Do you
we
believe that
have
release
to.
date? I don't think we have to do anything.
Have to is a strong word.
Sure. I mean, there's no way they miss it, right? I mean, now because I've
No.
said that out loud.
No, I don't think
I don't
so.
think they miss it either.
I think this is it. There's nothing else. This is it. This is it.
Also, it sounds like the reason they did this mainly is for polish. Like Microsoft wants this game to be super polished, right?
Yeah. I mean, Bethesda games are notoriously buggy, so
Yeah.
if the first one they come out with under the Xbox branding isn't a pile of Bethesda mess, that's only a good thing.
Yeah,
Do you think?
very true.
I don't believe it's possible. Do you
to not
really
be a
think
Bethesda mess.
Yeah. Do you
I
really
don't think so
like
either.
there won't be a story in the first few weeks of like, here are the 5 game-breaking bugs that are fucking people up and stuff. Like, don't do this mission before
Game
this mission,
breaking
or
bugs.
don't walk
Have
into
they
this mission
had?
with this weapon.
Yes.
That's all
Oh,
gonna
I didn't know
happen.
they've had that. I know that they've had
Skyrim,
like save
PS3.
issues.
Oh my god, Skyrim.
I didn't know there was issues
PS3.
like if you load missions with specific
Yep.
weapons, it messes up. the game.
There
Okay.
was, I mean, they do themselves in by like everything's interactable, right? And so like there was a thing like if you dropped so many wheels of cheese in a row or something, it would just like lock the game, like brick the game.
Yeah.
And shit.
Right.
Yeah, like they are too expand. Like I just don't believe we'll ever get to a point where they're like, this is the Witcher 3 was great, right? When it launched, I don't think it was a buggy mess when it launched. I don't remember people talking about it in that way.
It had problems. It definitely
Did
had
it? Okay,
problems, but it
fine.
was not. Well, no. You're what you're saying is right though, but it's not. It was things that were fixable. It wasn't game breaking. Like
Right.
Yeah.
to be fair, Fallout 4 wasn't game breaking though. Like I don't remember there being anything too
No.
crazy in Fallout 4 that was like, oh, it's broke. Like there's little things that always happen in these games, but nothing
I think
crazy.
when you have games that big and that expansive, people are more willing to accept
For sure.
bugs in the game, which is just like
Yes.
a natural thing. Whereas like I think Bethesda has in the past gone a little bit too close to the edge of where like, hey, maybe that's not acceptable, right? Maybe it's a little bit too buggy, maybe it's a little bit too broken. And hopefully with Microsoft or whatever reason they decided like, hey, we're gonna delay it, we see a significant less amount of bugs, but I do think a Bethesda game is a Bethesda game at the end of the day, and I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that unless it's too broken, right?
I think it's probably the 1-2 punch of a bit of oversight for Microsoft and Fallout 76 being the last kind of thing they did, and that being pretty fucking rough.
Yeah. But was that rough? Like I know that game was like a
That
mess,
was rough
and that was
because
getting
the game
patches all the
wasn't
time.
great. The game
Yeah, I
wasn't
was gonna
great.
say
It was both, right? Like I remember the
Yeah.
servers just being trash, like, and that's because it's an online MMO-ish game or whatever. Like, and so that added an element of like bugginess, I guess, or like whatever you would call that. But like, I think it was a mixture of a lot of things that didn't help that game. But I think bugs were one of them.
Yeah, I remember when we were doing the podcast at the time. Every week there was like a new update of Fallout 76 gets 76 or 100 bug fixes or whatever it was. It was a ridiculous amount of bug fixes.
Also, they fucked over everybody who bought like the super special edition, right? And like sent them knockoff shit of the stuff they bought.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
It was just a fucking trash file, wasn't it? So maybe they're like, hey, let's really not fuck up Starfield, but we'll see.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, indeed.
Do you believe? I believe.
Next up, Arcane Studios confirms Redfall will have cross-play support between PC and Xbox. I saw this come out and this be confirmed. I thought this was like already a thing. I thought did Xbox pretty much already come out like years ago and say like all of their first-party games are cross-play now?
I had the same reaction.
Yeah.
This was
I
a non-story
so.
to me.
Yeah, I also like. I think it's more of a story when games don't have it than when games do have it nowadays.
Exactly.
Because like I can't think of the last game I've played that didn't have crossplay, other than some indie games for whatever reason not having crossplay in some regard like that. So this was I was kind of shocked to see this story circulating.
100%. But look at how far we've come. Remember when Rocket League like sneakily just activated it? And everybody was like, "Oh my god!" It literally is the flick of a switch. And now, like you say, it's totally the expected thing. It's totally. What do you mean your game doesn't have crossplay? That's obscene. And so yeah, look at the strides we've made, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this one going around on Twitter, and I was just like, "This is not a story to me." Sorry to say, like, I mean, obviously, I'm happy it's been confirmed. I guess maybe it is a story because maybe it's because it's on Epic as well, right? So I think it's crossplay.
Steam. It's crossplay.
Steam to Epic, Epic to Steam, Xbox to Steam.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it's a story. But
so they did a Q&A, and I think what ended up happening is some news sites were like, well, we need to make a story out of this Q&A, and what's the most like clickable
headline
title?
thing.
It has crossplay. Because I looked through it and there wasn't really a whole like there's some interesting stuff for people who are interested in it, but there's not really anything that's sort of like, hey, this is gonna drive views and clicks to our website sort of situation.
Original Cookie Man writes in with a question saying, Arcane recently did a Q&A with their Discord community and went into some more details about the immersive sim system, I said that correctly, in Redfall. If the world is as compelling as the best examples in the genre, Hitman, Fallout, Dishonored, Bioshock, could Redfall be a surprise hit? I don't think it's a surprise hit. I don't think Redfall's going to meet the level of expectation in which I think I have for it. Only because of what they have said, though, not because of what has been shown. What has been shown to me, it looks interesting, it looks fun. I can't wait to play it with you boys, obviously, but I don't see anything beyond that than a fun fuck around with my friends type game. But in the same breath, I am not the biggest what's the studio name? Jesus.
Arcane.
Arcane, thank you. Jesus, I just read it. Arcane fan. Not that I don't like their games and don't appreciate what they do. They just haven't had a game that has spoken to me. This is very much a game that speaks to me. But in the same breath, I've said this before, I say it again. If it's going to be told a story in the same way Deathloop is told, or the systems are similar to that, that isn't what I'm interested in. I'm more interested in the traditional way of gaming. Does that make it right? No, because if you look at Deathloop, if you look at Dishonored 1 and Dishonored 2, they're some of the most regarded, well-regarded games that have come out in the last 20 years. So the medium is moving on beyond what I want. But I'm interested to see. What do you guys think? Do you think, to me, if this is a hit, it's not a surprise hit.
Yeah.
I expect this to be good.
Also, like the list of games mentioned aren't comparable to Redfall, I'd say, because like none of those are co-op games, and Redfall
Fallout
isn't just an
76.
immersive sim.
Fallout 76 is co-op. That's a Fallout game. Just saying.
Yeah, but that would you argue that that's an immersive sim?
Hitman's got that time trial thing that you can do with a ghost.
True. I think for this game to be a success in the lane that it's in, and the way they've sold it, but the way that it's been perceived by people is that it needs to be a good co-op game. I think that's like the main thing for it. So I think the immersive system could be why it's a cult classic, or why it's a niche game and people talk about it incredibly highly for a long period of time. But I think for it to be a hit in any form, like I think that co-op really needs to land.
Matt?
Totally agree with everything you guys have said. For me, Redfall feels like, and I don't mean this to come off negatively, but like Rainbow Six Extraction, I had an expectation. It hit that expectation, and you know what? I played it for like 3 days. Back for Blood, had an expectation. It hit that expectation, and I played that for like 3 days. And this feels the same to me. Like, I know they keep saying it's not Left 4 Dead, it's not Back for Blood, but it feels the same. And my expectation is where it is, and I think it'll probably hit it, and I think I'll probably bounce off it pretty quick. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, exactly. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I put a lot of time into it. But I think for it to be like you say, a surprise success, I think it's expected to be a success. It's on Game Pass. It's a relatively high-profile game from a relatively high-profile studio with an easy pitch, like co-op vampire shoot 'em up. You've got Game Pass. Try it. Like, that's the pitch. And so I would have thought that game will be a success. And however Xbox decides to frame that success, in the same way that High on Life was a success. High on Life was a success, or whatever.
I was about to say, what do we quantify nowadays as what a success is? It's
Exactly.
the difference, right? Like back in the day, we quantified sales were the barometer of success. That's no longer a thing because of Game Pass. It's not, and not that games don't still sell well, but that's not. It's now. It seems like it's amount of players.
Concurrence.
But even that's not a
It's
true
not.
representation anymore of how many people. Because obviously, I work for UB, and you see them. They do the free weekends for games all the damn time, which I think is a very very smart business opportunity for them. It's a great way of getting new players into a game that they were interested in, and then converting it with a sale on Far Cry or whatever. I think it's a very very smart business model, but that also helps to get more players to have played the game. So,
Well,
But
yeah,
go on, Crash.
it's also one of those things where if you're viewing it from player base, you don't know if somebody's played it for like, do they have a metric of like a person has to play it for at least like 5 hours before we say that they count them in the player base? Probably not.
no,
And then it's also like
it's
we
just
never
boot it off.
really
That's what it
get
is.
those numbers, right? It's
No.
just we'll hear all the time because we have heard Xbox in the past say like, oh yeah, such and such was viewed as a success from us. I think comments like that came out for Gears Tactics and things like that,
Yep.
where we never really got like a player base number or how much that game sold or anything like that. Just Xbox telling us a game was successful. And I don't think even if a game wasn't, Xbox would ever say like, "Hey, this game wasn't successful," right?
Well, they
They're
never
always
came
gonna
out
say
with
like, "It was a
Bleeding Edge, did
success."
they? Bleeding Edge came out. They didn't come out and go,
Yeah,
this wasn't a success.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. No, they just ended the production of it and sent it on its merry way. So we never know when a game doesn't do well. And the best barometer of that is you see how quickly support is pulled from it and how quickly the servers get turned off. That's the barometer of when we know a game was a complete and utter failure on Xbox's behalf at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I've lost my train of thought. I apologize. That
all
just
good.
left the station real quick.
We are recording later than we usually do. I'll give you it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got it back.
Please.
I was gonna say that the like I think Hogwarts Legacy is an interesting one, right? Where obviously that game sold gangbusters, and we heard about that. But one of the kind of early barometers that they were measuring by was, hey, we broke the world record for the amount of people viewing it on Twitch for a single player game. And it's like, well, where'd you pull that metric out? Nobody's ever gone, hey, we hold this record. Like, Hogwarts has come out and been like, hey, now we own that record. Like, okay, does that mean it's successful? That's not money in your pocket.
I think that's
No.
probably that's. Go on.
No, it wasn't Twitch that was like throwing around that number, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was the studio. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was both. I don't know, but I would have thought
I could be
Twitch wanted
wrong
to
about
stay
that,
away
but
from it.
I
with
would
all
have
the
thought
publicity.
it would have been Twitch reporting that to them, saying, "Yo, just so you know, your game is the most viewed
No,
game."
I
blah, blah,
would
blah.
imagine
they would
looking
have
at
that data.
I don't think that data would be too hard to find. What the most viewed game on Twitch
I'm
is?
sure not.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised when they're seeing it get high if somebody was like, "Hey, where do we stand in like the top 10 list or whatever?" And then somebody's like, "Oh shit, we're at number 1. We're at the top." And then somebody's like, "Oh, we gotta tweet that. Make an infographic. We're tweeting it."
Maybe.
Yeah. True.
Very quickly as well, we've talked about it several times in the podcast and haven't said,
Fuck J.K. Rowling.
There you go.
Next up, one that I know Crash is excited about has to be. I don't know. Is Crash a Dragon Ball guy? I don't actually know. I actually don't know if you're a Dragon Ball guy. He must be. He's a nerd. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenchi. Have I said that right? I definitely feel like I've not said that correctly. All right, let me try again.
Oh.
Dragon Ball Z Budokai. I got that right.
Yeah.
Kaichi.
Close enough. I don't know the 100% correct way to say it, so I'll say yeah, that's good.
A new Dragon Ball Z Budokai game has been announced. It came out with a trailer. Go on.
Don't say Budokai because Budokai is a different franchise.
Look, it's been over 15 years since we got our last mainline Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi game. I don't know what the fuck this means. Crash, help me out here, please.
At Dragon Ball does their own sort of show convention type of thing, and they announced a new Tenkaichi game, which a lot of people are very, very excited for. First one they've done in a long time. I am interested in playing it. That's about where it is. This isn't like the type of fighting game that really like interests me, because this is much more of like an arcadey have fun sort of fighting game, which I'm sure somebody's gonna get really mad at me and they're gonna be like, no, it's super competitive or whatever. But it doesn't really like register for me in that avenue. So if I wanted to play a Dragon Ball Z fighting game, I'd rather go play Dragon Ball Fighters personally. Even today, I'd rather go play that than something like this today. Although, ton of great memories from when I was a kid with these type of games. So I'm looking forward to at least playing it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Nerd. Last few stories here. Paradox revealed a huge partnership with Microsoft for new games for Xbox and Game Pass PC. Long story short, Paradox teamed up with Xbox. They did like a thing over on the official Xbox YouTube channel, which I didn't know they were doing, where they announced a bunch of new games and updates to some games as well, if I'm not mistaken. You got games like Lamplighters League, Crusaders Kings 3 tours and tournaments, Life by You, Across the
Obelisk.
Thank you. Bro, honestly, I've never heard of any of these games. Apart from King's Crusader, I've heard of. But the others I've not heard of. Have you guys?
City Skylines.
City Skylines 2.
I'm just scrolling down.
Knights of
I
Pen
just
and
saw
Paper
City
was
Skylines.
on Game Pass. Stellaris, wasn't that a game people loved last year? I think that's an expansion or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Other than that, no, I haven't heard about a lot of these games. But a lot of them are coming to Game Pass day and date, so.
Yeah. Shout out to Paradox. Hopefully they're getting their bread. Hopefully they're getting paid well. And hopefully we keep getting content coming to Game Pass. So win. There's something to fix this app before we run off today, guys. Remember, you can email in or write in our Discord. The email is myxboxandbpodcast@gmail.com. And the Discord is in the links below on the YouTube video. Make sure you go subscribe. Or in the description of this very podcast. First up from El Dozo. On my most recent walk, my attempt to shift a bit of weight, my Spotify threw up a song that I hadn't heard in quite a while called Blow Me Away by, sorry, not just Blow Me, Blow Me Away by Breaking Benjamin. The song some of you, or maybe all of you may know from a level in the original Halo 2. My first instinct was to download the Master Chief Collection and begin to play through the Halo campaign. My question is, what if any songs, tunes, or piece of music instantly takes you back to a memory of a game? This can be an actual game music or a song you associate with a particular game. Question, want to kick us off?
Sure. Interesting. I think the only one that I have that I can distinctly remember right now, it's not even from the game. It's a song that I listened to while playing it, which was Eminem's "The Way I Am" while playing RuneScape. I have a very specific quest from RuneScape that I remember like listening to that song while playing the quest. So whenever RuneScape level, they upgraded it and they did a whole bunch of stuff and they released a classic RuneScape. And whenever I went back to play it and I did that quest, it made me want to listen to that song in particular and vice versa.
Love that.
So yeah.
My one is slightly embarrassing and nonsensical. GTA San Andreas, when I was playing that as a kid, I knew that if my parents heard the audio from the game, they'd not be happy and take it off me. So I used to play that game on mute while listening to Maroon 5's debut album on repeat. And so yeah, that song, that whole album, which I could probably recite word for word, reminds me of San Andreas, which is a very big culture clash, I feel.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Just a little bit. I've got a few, I'll be honest with you. Music plays a big role in my life and has done since a very young age. The first one that comes to mind is a weird one. I used to know a kid called Jack. I'll just call him Jack. I won't use his last name. Jack, and we used to go around his house to play Sims. And he had just got you probably don't know the artist correction. Maybe our American listeners don't. And maybe you do. He broke America. Dizzy Rascal. You know Dizzy Rascal? No. Well, he had an album called Boy in the Corner, which is like considered a classic. And he had a song on there called Jezebel, which, if you don't know Jezebel, it tells a story about this young girl from a council estate getting pregnant and having sex and all this stuff. And I remember that song was just on repeat while playing The Sims when it first came to PS2. Yeah, Blue Disc, PS2. So that's one. I've got Rock Band. So I used to do Rock Band nights over at my uncle's house. Me, Haley, my cousin, and my uncle, we all used to pretend we were a rock band together. So I'd go around there once a week and we were on tour. And it's crazy. It's crazy that this question come up, actually. I just got a WhatsApp from him about this, which is wild. My cousin went to go see the band, clearly, that did the song. And this... you hear that?
No, it's not coming through.
Okay. It's 9 in the afternoon.
Oh yeah, Panic at the Disco.
So that was Panic at the Disco, yeah. So that was kind of our send off song. So we do our set list, and that would be the song we ended on every single show. So that song, anytime I hear that song, it takes me back to my uncle's and aunt's house and playing Rock Band. And then for some weird reason, you'd have to tell me if I'm wrong or not, if I've made this up in my head. But did Gears of War do what song was in the Gears of War trailer? Mad World. Yeah, that song. I think of Gears of War every single time.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. That as
every single time. Like I hear that song, I don't think about that song. I think about Gears every single time without a foul. There's still plenty more. Need for Speed Underground 2, that whole soundtrack. Like anytime I hear "To the Window, to the Wall," I love that song number one. But I think Underground 2 every single time without a foul.
I think in those sports games as well, like there are even like FIFA tracks from FIFA games that I just know from being in uni and like my mates playing FIFA. I was never that interested, but songs that I know from the menus of those and the other one for me is Tony Hawk's. Like there's one of 70 tracks that I could hear and be like, "Fuck, I want to play Underground," like right now. So yeah.
Yeah. There's a bunch more I could easily list off, but we'll stop there.
Good question.
No one is. Yeah, great question. Next question comes from Reality, who says, "Hi guys, I'm not a new listener, but new to the Discord server. My question is: a couple of days ago, VGC and various other outlets reported the console sales for the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X and the PS5. And currently, the PS5 is at a 30 million, while the Xbox is at 18 million. It's reported the gap should now widen even more in the future and create a 2-to-1 ratio, the same as the Xbox One and the PS4 era. Excuse me. What do you think Xbox can do to close the gap? My opinion is third-person action-adventure games, possibly. But what would you guys like? What would you guys take on? Sorry about that. Butchered that a little bit at the end there. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with third-person action-adventure games. I think that's something we've been shouting about for a really, 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 really long time on the podcast. The real simple answer. You want the real simple answer is and I think it's something that PlayStation and I know because I'm in the influencer world as well. Xbox needs to get their branding together as a whole. I love Xbox, you know. We do this podcast, been doing it for nearly 4 years. But you go to the cinema, you see PlayStation. You go to football matches, you see PlayStation. You see celebrities, they go to PlayStation. That used to be Xbox. Xbox was the console that everybody went to in the 360 generation. And for some, I don't know why reason, and maybe for all the praise we give Phil Spencer, love Phil Spencer with all my heart, you know, absolutely saved Xbox when we needed them the most. He didn't like the third-party deals, and he didn't like the exclusive Call of Duty maps, or they lost out on those bits and bobs. I'll let you come in a second, Crash, but let me just keep running for a sec. And ultimately, I think in the long run, it has made Xbox fall behind in a big way. Like we focused on the earlier in the consoles, the teraflops and the hardware and things like that, and ultimately nobody cares. Like, we care when it comes to talking about these new consoles because we get content out of it, and so does the IGNs and people like that. But the everyday consumer doesn't understand all that. And ultimately, I think that's what Xbox have lost. Like with FIFA, FIFA is obviously big across the world. They lost the market into that when they had Ultimate Team as an exclusive thing. Call of Duty, obviously, we'll get into Call of Duty, I'm sure, at some point. And that's a whole nother headache. But they lost the thing that made them special. I feel like with the everyday person, and even if you look at PlayStation now, they're doing this new program with influencers, and they do tournaments with celebs and all of this stuff. And it just Xbox need to become a little bit more coherent when it comes to the brand of Xbox. They've done a great job with that with Game Pass, but they haven't done a great job with that of everything else outside of that. They were on that trajectory with the Inside Xbox stuff, the Xbox what was it called?
Developer Direct.
No, the thing before that I went to.
FanFest.
Oh, FanFest.
The FanFest stuff. That was a great start, and it would have, if they could have kept building on that, it would have been huge, I think. But yeah, it's not just the games. It really isn't.
I don't think that gap will ever close. And I think because Xbox doesn't care for that gap. I don't think that is Xbox's focus. I think Game Pass and xCloud are Xbox's focus. Because I think if that was Xbox's focus, we would see more adverts when you're watching a movie for a physical Xbox and stuff like that. But that's not what they're going for. They're going for Game Pass. And what's the best way to sell Game Pass? Word of mouth. So where are they going to show it? Where gamers are more likely to see it. That's why we get big pushes for that at your E3s and at your showcases where gamers are going to be watching. So next time it's like, oh, you want to play this game with me? I can't really get it, or I don't really feel like buying it. Oh no, just get Game Pass. That's really what their goal is. So I think the more we go on, the less that number matters to Xbox, as long as Game Pass continues to be a success. That's why it's why you talked about Call of Duty. Xbox is sort of like, yeah, we'll put Call of Duty on PlayStation if the deal goes through. We don't care, because that's not our goal. Our goal isn't to deal in consoles forever. We have a goal well beyond consoles.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Fixer may have died live on podcast. No,
I'm
you're
here.
there? Okay, well, you're frozen on my end.
Oh no, I'm here. We're fine.
I totally agree with everything you were saying, Crash. Like, yes, absolutely. Xbox, I don't think care about selling consoles anymore. And I think they're a bit ahead of the curve in that sense. Like, maybe they should care a little more right now in the next 2 years about selling consoles than they clearly do. But they are a subscription-based company. And Microsoft Office has gone that way. And so is Xbox. Like, all they give a shit about is whether or not you have a Game Pass subscription. Whether you're playing on your PC, on your phone, or on your Series S or your X or your whatever their streaming stick may be. That might happen one day. Say again? Or your TV. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why I was saying about the streaming stick, like, is maybe that doesn't happen, because maybe they're further along with the smart TV app than we assume, and maybe that just gets bundled into a Fire Stick TV or whatever other sort of sticks that already exist that turn your dumb TV into a smart TV. So yeah.
I think it's an interesting one.
Oh, he is gone. He's
gone. It was an interesting one, though.
It was an interesting one, though. I think we're at the end of the podcast anyway, aren't we, Crash? Isn't that over?
I think so.
Oh, he's back.
So. Oh.
That time I died. I definitely died. I don't know what happened, but I definitely died then.
Well, I was about to outro us, so.
Oh, well, okay. Well, yeah.
Well, unless you've got anything to add.
Nothing important. Nothing important. Crash, let's plug and get ourselves out. We got to plug this week.
My Xbox and me YouTube page. I haven't checked the podcast reviews. I'm gonna check the podcast reviews while these guys do their outros.
I've got one. We've got
you
one.
Have one? Oh yeah, you do have one. Fix will read you guys
one.
a review.
I will read one before we go. Yes, I will
leave some reviews for us.
Yeah, leave
some
reviews.
Help with the algorithm, and I like seeing the reviews. They make me a little bit giddy in the day when I see a good review.
Definitely. And you know what made me giddy in the week, Crash? the Discord, which is what I'm going to plug while Fixer pulls up the review. Everybody in the Discord this week been chatting about how they first found out about MC Fixer. I very much enjoyed that little conversation everybody was having. If you're not already in the Discord, go get in the Discord because it's a proper lovely little community of people chatting about Xbox and nerdy shit and MC Fixer.
I'll be honest. It warmed my heart seeing it as well. All the people like, oh yeah, I found him here. I found him here. I was like, oh god.
And you know what we learned from that? We got to get you back on Unlocked, boy.
I should probably do more podcast appearances. If you want me on your podcast, if you do a podcast and you listen to this podcast, hit me up. I'll do it. Okay, I'll find the time. This review comes from Radland. Been listening for well over a year now. Well, let's start off right there, Rad. What the hell? Well over a year and you're only just done it? How goddamn dare you? How goddamn dare you? I want you to go and find your nan, kick her down the stairs, and take her phone, all right?
So next week we're expecting a review from Rad Lad's nan.
Radland's nan, exactly.
There we go.
Been listening for well over a year now. Fixer and the guys always good for some chat about the latest news in the Xbox world. They have a nice, relaxed approach, and it doesn't quite feel as corporate as some of the others out there. Instead of game journalism, giving well-rehearsed lines, it feels more like listening to your mates having a chat about what's going on and what they're playing. The three main hosts all have their own vibe, but their own style mix well together. And my favorite episodes are when they are all together. Thanks for the many hours you spent in my earlobes, and keep up the good work, boys.
Love that. Very quickly, you didn't say, is it a 5-star review or do we have to go hunt a full down?
Of course, it's a 5-star
Yeah,
review.
With that face, I thought you were like,
we
it's
all
not
know.
a 5-star review. I wasn't going to mention.
It's a 5-star review. It's a 5-star review. Absolutely. Yeah, remember, we're 9 reviews away from 100 over on the UK Apple Podcast. So make sure
we get there before episode 400? It's a big ask.
No.
But I believe in you.
No. No is the answer, but please do, if you are a new listener, again, go find your grandma, kick her down the stairs, and then jack her phone, please. And 5 stars only.
Ask her if you can use her phone for about 5 minutes. You don't gotta kick her down the stairs.
I'm not interested in that.
Fix only wants a review if you kicked her down the stairs.
If you haven't kicked her down the stairs,
he's gonna come kick you down the stairs.
If the subject line isn't kick my nan down the stairs for this review, I don't care anymore. Any from the US?
No new ones.
No new guys.
Ones. The US is letting us down,
Come on.
Unbelievable.
Well, thank you all for watching, listening, and viewing wherever you are. Until next time, we will love you, leave you, and see you later. Goodbyes.
Bye.